All right, let's get the show on the road. Good morning, officially, and welcome. It is Tuesday. Thank you for joining me again, Hannah. So happy to have you. Um, Today, we are digging into a new topic. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in to Dr. Tanya Live. Again, I use two different cameras because we're on several different platforms at one time. But before we dive in, I am going to ground myself in this one scripture that I have been doing since the first day that I have been going live. And that is Ephesians 2 and 10. For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things that He planned for us long ago. So I actually had to remind somebody of that just yesterday. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves that we are a masterpiece. We're not inadequate. We are not less than in any way. There's no reason why we should ever feel that we can't do something. If God gave us a dream to do it, we have what it takes because He put it inside of us, because He has plans for us, plans to, that He had for us long ago. So He's not going to have all these wonderful plans if He's not going to equip us and prepare us to be able to do it. Doesn't mean it's not going to be a journey, though. But the key is to remember who you are. You are a masterpiece. And as a masterpiece, you're not an accident. And you can do anything that you set your mind to do because God put it inside of you. So I do have a favor to ask. If you don't mind just hitting the share button, sharing with folks that are. Let them know that we're on live. And also, if you are not already following me on my social media, please feel free to follow. Thank you. Let us know where you are from. Love to hear where you're from. Where are you logging in from? And are you already doing the business or the dream that God has given you? Where are you on your journey? I would love to know that. Thank you again so much for joining me. This is day 42 of my 90-day challenge. I have challenged myself every single day, weekday, to come on live and encourage women. Sometimes there are men, but particularly women who have a dream that God has given to them, who want to start a business. Maybe they've already started a business. They don't really know how to get a business started. Or they don't know what to do once they start it. Once they do the LLC or whatever, they don't know what's next. So that's why I come on here for these 90 days. And every day we're talking about something different, but all to encourage women to keep moving forward in the dream that God has given you. So for those of you who are new here, I'm Dr. Tanya. This is Dr. Tanya Live, real talk for women and sometimes men building their businesses. So today we are on day 42. We are talking about who are you becoming? That is our topic today. Who are you becoming? So I can't help but think about I have a grandson who is 4 years old. He is the absolute best. I don't know if you have grandchildren yet or where you are on your journey, but he is amazing. Just a smart little boy. He doesn't live in the same state anymore, but every time I see him, even if it's like a month from the time I saw him before, every time I see him, I just see him growing into this amazing little human being. We can already see the gifts that God has put inside of him. And some of those things we saw as a newborn. Like I remember when he was a newborn, he was doing things ahead of what the milestones say he should be doing them. So you know how they say babies don't smile until they're much older. They don't smile socially except when they're like, sleep or whatever. This baby was smiling. He was not even 2 weeks old. He's always been very social. I would not be surprised if he has a public facing career at some point in his life. I can already see the different gifts that he has. He loves people and he interacts really well with people. I heard that he was at a wedding recently with his dad and was introducing his dad to people who were at the wedding, which is the cutest. But we can look at little children and we can see who they're becoming so easily, so much more easily than what we can often do for ourselves. But when we're on a journey towards entrepreneurship or towards, writing a book or fulfilling the dreams that God put inside of us, we often don't see the growth that comes through the journey. And I really want to kind of encourage you along the way of your journey as you are going through. I don't know what your journey looks like. I don't know like what, what has transpired on your journey, what you have encountered, what's been a challenge for you, what you've experienced. Everybody's journey is different, of course. And so I don't know what it's been like for you, but I wonder if you're able to see who you are becoming in this process. Now, what's interesting to think about is, like it's so easy to see it with a 4-year-old. It's so easy. I wish it could be that easy for us as well. But we often don't realize what it is that influences that growth. So for my 4-year-old grandson, his parents are very intentional about making sure that he has certain kinds of experiences. They want to expose him to things. They've exposed him to travel, domestic travel, but he's been on airplanes multiple times. He goes to museums on a regular basis. So you can see the kind of television that they expose him to is usually educationally based. He does not have a tablet. That's very intentional. He listens to a lot of different music. He has instruments and like he's just really well rounded. He's got tons of books. In fact, his whole bed is like a bookcase surrounding him. So they have been very intentional about exposing him to experiences that will help shape who he is and who he is becoming, right? They take him to church, they pray with him, they share all kinds of experiences with him. They answer his questions, whether they're difficult questions or not. They're really intentional about shaping who he is becoming. And we don't realize that a lot of who we are becoming because we're always growing. Like if you stop growing, then you're not here anymore. So it's like so continue to embrace the growth. But as we are growing, we don't realize all the things that are around us that may be shaping who we are becoming. So we can think about like what are we exposing ourselves to? Are we exposing ourselves to the types of influences that are going to help us in this growth, right? So, especially as we are creating our own businesses, writing a book, living out the dream and the calling that God has on our lives, how are we becoming who we are becoming? So, are we spending time doing the kinds of things that will build us up? That will lift us up, that will encourage us, that will help us to be the best version of ourselves. What about the people that we surround ourselves with? Do we find ourselves being around the kinds of people that are going to uplift us, the kind of people that are going to pour into us, that are going to encourage us, that are going to positively influence us? Have you ever walked into a room and or been in a room where somebody else walks in with negative energy and it seems to suck the energy and the life out of all the people in the room? Have you ever been in that kind of a situation? Because I have. I've been in spaces that were not the most positive spaces. And it's like that energy, like somehow gets transferred onto you. And it's like, how do I now have an attitude? How am I now feeling down and out? Because of the energy that's in the room, right? And there's actually something to that. I mean, there's a scripture that talks about like bad company corrupting good character. And then there's science. There's something that they say is called mirror neurons. And it's where your brain simulates other people's actions and emotions. And so if we're not careful, other people can impact who we are at any given time in our lives, right? And not only do they impact who we are, but they can impact who we are becoming. Because sometimes who we are surrounded by could be fully like if they're always around us, if we are always around the folks that are not lifting us up, the folks that are not pouring into us, the folks who are not going to show us how to build strong businesses or to walk in our calling and walk in the purpose that God put inside of us a long time ago, if we're not careful, those people will suck the very life out of us and will cause us to think that we can't do something that God has ordained and designed for us to be able to do. Right. And so we have to think about like who it is that we surround ourselves with. Like, who who is in your circle, because that is going to impact who you are becoming. Now let's dig a little bit deeper into this who you're becoming. So let's think about this. So, I often come on here and I talk about walking in our calling, walking in our purpose. And for some people, that is like they're excited about that journey. Other people are really nervous. So I hear from women who share things like, I have no idea how to do this, or I'm lost, or I'm scattered, or I'm all over the place. And they are not really certain and sure that they can do the thing that God has called them to do. And so when you're thinking about like who you're becoming, you know, it is a process. And that process is an intentional process. So you have to be intentional about yourself on this journey. So first of all, who do you see yourself becoming? Can you even envision who you are as a leader, who you are as a boss, who you are as an entrepreneur, who you are as a company owner, who you are as a founder, who you are as an author, who you are as, the person who is like running the show? Can you see yourself positioned in the place that allows you to be who you are becoming? Like, can you see that? So, if you can't envision it, that's going to make it a little bit harder for you, right? So, that's one of the first things. So, if the business that you are praying for showed up exactly like you wanted it to tomorrow, if it showed up exactly like you wanted to tomorrow, are you the woman or the person that is prepared to lead it? That's my question for you. So, if all of a sudden your life completely turned around where you have exactly what God has called you are exactly where God has called you to be, doing exactly what you are what is purpose for you to do, and tomorrow you woke up and everything was in place. Your new business is in place, your book is written, you're walking in your calling, you're walking in your purpose. Are you ready? Are you ready to lead it? Are you ready to be a part of it? Are you ready to walk it? Are you ready to become the person that is doing the very thing that God has called you to? Because becoming is a process. So then if you're not ready for that, if you can't see yourself waking up tomorrow and being the person, what's going to get you there? Like, what are you going to do to get yourself to a place where you are prepared to walk in your calling? You're prepared to lead. You're prepared to be the boss. You're prepared to be the decision maker. You're prepared to be the author or the speaker or whatever it is that God, the musician, the creative, whatever God has designed and created you to be. Are you ready for that? Because when we think about who we're becoming, you know, we have to, there's a role that we have to play in that. If we don't do anything different, nothing will change. Nothing happens when nothing happens. I said that but once before, but it's true. If you don't do anything to prepare yourself, you won't change. You won't be different. And it's hard to embrace change. There are a lot of folks who struggle with change. They struggle with like um doing something different, like tomorrow or the next day or the day after that, and consistently doing something different. There are people who really struggle with that. I don't know if that's something that you struggle with. I don't know if that's something that you have been dealing with and having challenge with, but this journey that we're walking has to be an intentional journey. So you have to be careful with what you consume. You have to be careful with with who you are around. So when I talk about what you consume, this is what I mean by that. I mean, are you consuming like reality TV all day long? So I don't watch a lot of TV. I used to watch a lot of TV back in the day. And I would say probably, I don't know, maybe about 10 years or so ago, I stopped watching so much TV and I started doing more reading and occupying my time with so much more. And I remember, like there's some family members that I have who didn't watch TV. They didn't even have a TV. And I'm like, how can you not have TV? Like, how can you not watch? That just seems so like out of this world to not consume, you know, television, entertainment all the time because I was just so accustomed to it. But imagine if you weren't consuming that all the time, and now it's not even TV, it's streaming platforms. Like, what if you're not consuming that all the time? And if you are consuming it, what is it doing to you? What is it doing to your being able to walk in your calling and walk in your purpose? Is it really preparing you to be the person that you are called to be? Is it really preparing you to lead, to walk in your purpose, to walk in the assignment, to do the next thing that you're supposed to be doing? Like what it is that you are surrounding yourself and what you're taking in all the time. If you are listening to watching trash TV or listening to podcasts that are just, really nothing but entertainment and not really anything that builds you up, are you positioning yourself to become the leader or the founder or the organizer or the speaker or the author that you're supposed to be? Like, are you positioning yourself that by what you consume? So how are you spending your time? I always say what's important gets done. So if we want to become something different, we have to do something different. And so I think about like things like losing weight, right? So I know after a certain age, it gets more challenging to lose weight because our metabolism, I think from the age of 30 on, it just goes down, 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 down. And eventually, like it is a struggle to be able to lose weight. And so when people are on a weight loss journey, they can't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to lose weight today or this week and do nothing different. They're not going to the gym. They're not eating differently. They're not lifting weights. They're not walking, nothing. They just want to will themselves into becoming, better, having healthier bodies or whatever. But the truth is, if we are going to do anything different in life, we have to make a commitment to do things differently, meaning we have to take different steps. We've got to be around different people. We've got to read different books. We've got to go to different places. We've got to surround ourselves with anything that is going to prepare us to become the leader or the founder or the business owner or the boss that God has called us to be. Like, what is it that you are becoming and how can you become that? Like, literally, like, what things can you do differently in your life to become that? Here's the thing, if you are going to be a business owner, you're going to need to be faith filled. So, how can you become more faith filled, right? So, walking in faith isn't just about what we believe, it is also about what we do because faith without works is dead. So, we've got to do something in conjunction with what it is that we believe. And so, how do you become more faith filled? You get tested in your faith. That's what happens. You then have to like show up and demonstrate your faith every single day. And by demonstrating your faith each day, you become more faith filled, less anxious, right? So a lot of us deal with anxiety. This is a big thing, especially it has come to light since the pandemic that more and more people, adults and young people, are dealing with anxiety. Well, how do you become less anxiety ridden if we are to become the person that God has called us to walk in the assignment that he's given us, to walk in our purpose, to walk in our calling, to be less anxious, we've got to do some things that build up our faith and do some things that eliminate the anxiety. And so there are lots of exercises that you can do. I mean, physical exercises as well as emotional exercises that can lessen our anxiety. We can also build ourselves up by reading God's word that speaks about anxiety, not to be anxious. But in everything, present this to God. And now, whatever the situation that we're presenting to God that we're anxious about, we then have to take our hands off of it. We have to release it. How else can we become less anxious and more able to lead an organization that we're building or able to lead, the the company and the business and walk in the calling that God has for us. It's not possible if we don't do something different. As you are you becoming more discerning? Because if you're going to walk in your calling and your purpose, you need to make sure that the decisions that you make, the people that you are around, are the people that are going to build you up, the people that are going to be a positive influence, not the ones that are going to suck the life out of you, right? Now, I know you can't just drop everybody like a hot potato, but you can be more discerning about the kinds of time that the amount of time that you spend around certain people, and you can protect your energy and your peace. You can create boundaries that can, basically say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. And, you can say to folks, hey, if you're coming to me with something negative, I'm not here to receive that today. And begin to help other people protect your peace, and protect you from like having the anxiety. But and you can be more discerning. You can ask God to show you, who should I be around? What should I be doing? Help me to discern the times. Like, am I discerning and understanding when I'm supposed to move forward, what steps I need to take to get my business off the ground, what steps I need to take to get this book published that I might be writing. Like, what are the things that you need? Ask God to help you discern the times so that you know whether or not you're supposed to be doing, what you're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be doing it. Maybe along in this journey of your becoming, you become more decisive. I think people don't realize that when we are indecisive, and I want to just welcome those who are just joining, even if you are watching this a little bit later. Thank you for joining. Let us know where you're from. I'd love to know where you're from and where you are on your journey. Feel free to add that to the comments. But if you are more decisive, then you're not in a place of indecision. So being in a place of indecision is actually is a really bad place to be. I don't know very many people that do well in the place of indecision. That is where you can't seem to decide how to move forward. So if you are at that place, a place of indecision, then you're going to need to do something different. So what could you potentially be doing differently to make a decision? So obviously spend time with God, like pray about it. Like, oh, Chicago. I don't know if you know this, but I was born there. I was born in Chicago, and so are my were my parents and one of my siblings. So love Chicago. Um, oh, thank you. God bless you. Glad you are, listening in, and glad that you even, chimed in at all. So thank you. I know if you're working, you have to be focused as well. But thank you so much for being a part of this morning's live. And so when we are thinking about like how we can be more decisive and less uncertain, sometimes we need wisdom, and that wisdom we may not have it yet. So, but we can pray for that wisdom. We can also seek people who are wise, or seek people who have walked the walk that we've already walked. So it took me till I was like nearly in my 50s, not quite 50s, in my late 40s to have mentors. I just didn't have them. I didn't have them around me. People who were business owners, people who were leaders in certain spaces. I just didn't have them to lean and depend on. They just weren't the kinds of people that I could trust. Sometimes you might need those kind of people in your lives. You might need a coach. You might need a therapist. I'm not a therapist, by the way. But I am a coach. So I will coach people and walk alongside you in helping you with the decisions that you need to make so that you don't feel uncertain about what you're doing as you're trying to walk in your calling and in your perfect purpose. Some of us, when we are becoming more confident. Here's the thing: we don't always see how we're changing and how we're growing. But if we document it, so I recommend journaling on a regular basis. If it's not every day, every few days, so that you can begin to see where you are today in a month from now. You look at yourself, you look back and you're like, wow, I was really struggling with this, whatever this thing is. And I find myself being much more secure about it, much more confident about it, feeling like I can do this thing. I can walk in my purpose. You can walk in your purpose. You can walk in your calling. You can be more confident about all of it if you do that. But sometimes we don't realize, and we can be very self-conscious, and it's very difficult for us to walk in our calling and to walk in our purpose, but um it is a part of the journey. So document where you are today so that you can see where you are tomorrow. um how are you going to become, and this is what I want you to think about. How are you going to become the boss that you already are? And I say already are because if God put it inside of you, it's already there. You just have to walk in it. And sometimes that's difficult, and there's a process to doing that. But I encourage you to walk in the thing that God has already called you to, even if you can't see it yourself. Um, Here's the thing, entrepreneurship, as we are going through this journey of entrepreneurship, and I don't know where you are on your journey, but as you're going, whether you are looking to start something, you getting ready to start something, and you already have started something, wherever you are on your journey, this journey of entrepreneurship will actually strengthen and build you up anyway. It will help you in who you are becoming. So maybe in the beginning, you're not really sure what you're doing, and that's okay. Folks like me can come alongside you and help you in what you're doing. But in this journey of being an entrepreneur, it will build you. It will build you up. You will find yourself having courage in areas that maybe you didn't have courage before. You'll find yourself having greater discipline around the time that you spend building this business, because if you have to have discipline in order to do it, especially if you're still working a 9 to 5 job and you're trying to get a business going at the same time. You're going to have discipline, because otherwise it'll never get built. It has to get built a little bit at a time. And if you're working a 9 to 5, you may only be able to use the time that you have after work. And if you're raising a family or taking care of loved ones, you may find you only have a small window when people go to bed, but you've got to be disciplined in doing that. That is part of what we become when we're entrepreneurs, and or when we become authors. You're going to become much more resilient because you're going to hear more no's than you probably ever wished to hear in your life. There are going to be folks who are not going to say yes to what you have to offer. There are folks that are not going to buy the product or the services that you are developing. And so you're going to find that you're becoming much more resilient in this journey. You may find that your leadership is growing. The way that you lead, maybe it doesn't look the same as how you've led in other settings. When you're leading your own organization, the buck stops with you. The decision is all yours. You're the one that's calling all the shots. And so you may be becoming more and more of a leader on this journey. Thank you for joining me. Feel free to tell us where you're logging in from, and where you are on your journey to walking in your calling and purpose. Would love to hear that. And so when you're an entrepreneur or becoming an entrepreneur, your faith almost has to grow. It is hard for your faith not to grow. I can tell you, the thing about entrepreneurship is there are seasons. In entrepreneurship, seasons where things are going wonderfully. Everything is great. I mean, the money is coming in. You could barely find time to to work on your business because you're just like doing, 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 doing. And that's great. But then there are also those seasons where things aren't going so great, where things are a challenge and they're a struggle for you. And so your faith is what gets you through those seasons, those difficult seasons. There are folks that are going to test you, when you are an entrepreneur. And so you've got to have strong faith in this process to be able to keep moving forward and doing the thing that God has called you. Imagine your company is a multi-million dollar company, right? Just imagine, like, envision this. You have built a company, it is a multi-million dollar company. What do you think that's going to require of you? What do you think you're going to need to become to run a multi-million dollar company? What's going to be different about you? And so, like, if you can envision all of that for yourself, if you can see yourself becoming this head of a multi-million dollar company, if you can see yourself growing into that kind of a leader that is running a multi-million dollar company, what will it take for you to go where you are today to where you are going to be as a multi-million dollar boss? What what is going to be required of you. All right, let me pause for a second. Just starting out literally, no business as of yet, but a grand idea. Love it. Going through business classes and coaching. I'm believing God that this is what I'm supposed to do. If He gave it to you, it is what you're supposed to do. And it will help you on this journey of becoming what God has called you to. And the grand idea, I love that. But that's what God does. He puts these grand ideas inside of us, and they are always, so when we're talking about purpose, those ideas are always bigger than us. They are always bigger than us because they're not for somebody else. So I see you saying, I need to become more focused. Um, I'm not sure, is it an NATIR with finances, and great with people, but always God first. You absolutely are on top of things. You know what you need, right? So as you are becoming more focused, as you are becoming the business owner that God has called you to with this grand idea that is probably way bigger than you, because that's how God works. He gives us grand ideas that are way bigger than us. Um, you are becoming something more. You are becoming what God has called you to. Stay the course. Keep keep on this journey. Keep doing what God has called you to do because mature with finances. Okay, great. Thank you. No, no problem. I was just not sure what you were saying there. Um, but 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 you're on the right path. You are on the right path of getting to what you are supposed to be. But you have to see yourself there first. So you have to see yourself in this role. You got to see yourself running this multi-million dollar company. And then you've got to do the work to make that happen. And then look at who you are becoming in the process, because there is maturity that comes with growth and with this journey of entrepreneurship. There's a whole lot that I've learned from the time I started my business 15 years ago until now. And so, hey there, Baruti, good to see you. That's my homeboy. He's here. He's in the Jersey area. Love him. He's a wonderful, wonderful. If you're not in the education space, you may not know his name, but if you are, you know exactly who he is. But thank you for joining. I'm actually getting like wrapping this thing up, but we've just been talking about like who we are becoming in this process of walking in our calling and doing the assignment that we know God has designed us to. And while it is a big assignment and a big role, let's pay attention to how we are growing. Document it. Like I said, document the growth process. How do we go from, not being an entrepreneur to being an entrepreneur? Like, what do you need to do? Who do you need to surround yourself with? What do you need to be reading? What do you need to remove from your life? Who do you need to separate yourself from? You don't need to pull from the energy of folks who are negative to become the thing that you're supposed to become, because there is something that you're supposed to do. All of us have an assignment on this earth. We are here for a purpose and a reason. And the goal is to walk it out, every day, walk it out, get closer to what it is that God has called you to do. And if you don't walk it out, then you're not going to move forward. Nothing's going to change. Like I said, nothing happens until something happens. That means you have to do that something, make that something happen, whatever that is. And so when you are becoming this new person, you are going to find yourself being more comfortable in the role that you are moving into. You are going to find your voice in this process. You are going to learn how to deal with rejection, because rejection will come. And you're going to learn how to deal with the tough times, because those tough times are also going to come. And so it is important that you stay the course, stay the journey. Don't let fear get in the way. I've been talking about fear off and on every single day, but I don't want that to stand in the way of you being able to become the person that you're supposed to become as a new business owner, a new author, a new speaker, whatever it is that you are on a journey working towards. But I do want to say that if you find that fear is the thing that stands in the way, go to my website, tanyabreland.com. I've got a couple of resources that are available to you that specifically address fear. One is a 10-day devotional. It's called When Fear Knocks. The other one is an ebook with an interactive companion called Fear is not your business plan. So a lot of us have ideas here, but we won't move forward because we are afraid. And therefore we can't become what we're supposed to become. But go to my website because I want you to be able to have access to both of those resources. I also have a resource on there about purpose, born with purpose. So maybe you're still trying to figure it out. Maybe you don't exactly know. You can pick up that resource as well. All of them are available to you. And I've got some more things coming down the pike, and I'm excited to share them with you soon. But we're going to come back here again tomorrow morning. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about marketing. We're going to be talking about marketing without losing yourself. So join me again tomorrow. I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a wonderful conversation. Great meeting those of you who came on and shared where you were from, and looking forward to being able to have this conversation tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day.